Welcome back to modded Kerbal Space Program. Last time we completed a contract to reach into space. All we did was a suborbital trajectory into space. And let's see what we have available now. Once more, I tend to ignore all of these test and hull parts, so we've got cross the radiation belt. And that'll just mean going really high into space. I'm not quite sure how high exactly that is. We've also got orbit Kerbin and established stable orbit, which is essentially the same thing. There's clearly there's two different contract packs that are giving similar early game contracts. However, I had a thought before we take another contract. We've got 25 science exactly. This node is 25 science. So what does this node give us? It gives us small gyroscopes, which can be used for attitude control. It gives us this winglet, steerable winglet, which can be used for attitude control. And it gives us these skids, like landing skids. These skids come from a mod called Kerbal Foundries, which adds a lot of wheel-type things. You can see them up here. It adds them all into this node, Advanced Motors. I feel like a basic skid isn't that high tech. So I custom edited the config file to bring it down to this node. Honestly, I should have brought it down here now that I think about it, because this is where we have just even simple wheels. I feel like a skid is at least as low tech as a simple wheel. But we're going to take this node, and I want to see if I can make this craft node, but maybe I can like land the thing, as crazy as that sounds. Let's switch to the hangar editor, because I tend to like it a little better for doing this sort of thing. Okay, so controllable winglets. Let's do this. Let's get rid of these. And let's do this. I'm going to just slip this down a little bit for the sake of aesthetics. Now those skids. So if we were to slip one like here, and then two back here, is this gonna work? Something like that? Or that? I don't really know. I've never actually used this part before. I don't know if it's worth a crap. Let's make it strong. Springs and dampers all the way up. Should this be more like down here? Doesn't really look as good down there. That looks horrible. Yeah, let's go with there for now. Let's check our center of mass and center of lift. I think we should slide this forward a little. Generally, you want your center of lift, which is the blue ball, to be slightly behind your center of mass, which is the yellow ball. I feel like something is going to go bad when I fly this. But it will be a learning experience. Yeah, that's never going to stand on the launch pad like that. Ooh, we got a decoupler, you know? We got a decoupler. That means we could do this. And now it's no longer going to fall over. We'll just put some fins on the bottom of there. Didn't we unlock also a gyroscope? That would be useful. And I was saying we should pump up the hard drive. This part comes from the Kerbal Engineer Redux mod, but if you have Kerbal Engineer Redux and Kerbalism installed, then it becomes a hard drive. It's just an add-on hard drive. I really hope this is not going to just crash and burn. Let's find out. Okay, experiments on. For the first time, SAS on, because we now have SAS ability. This should actually be staged with that. Let's launch. Ooh. What the heck? You don't have enough power? Baffling. Okay, well, we'll just burn that thruster up, since it only has 0.5 TWR. And then we'll ignite this one. Okay, launch. For realsies this time. Maybe in the future pay attention to your thrust-to-weight ratio. I really expected that to be able to lift this, but okay. Did I add that much weight in wings? Maybe. Apparently so, because previously, before we added the wings and the skids and the hard drive, we got up to an apoapsis of 69 kilometers. We're barely going to get 13, 14 now. 69, we were higher. We were like 130, weren't we? Yeah, that's a huge difference. Okay. I'm going to turn off SAS and just let it drift. Let the aerodynamics pull me and orient me. And we will time warp. The aerodynamics should orient me facing down. Once we get into lower atmosphere and it's a little thicker, we get more aero forces. It should settle down. I say that, but we're in like a chaotic flat spin at the moment. Let's turn on SAS. Huh. This may be unrecoverable, actually. I can't control it at the moment. It's nice and slow, though. We'll get lots of transmission before we hit the ground. I should have looked at the weight distribution when the fuel tank was empty. That's our problem, isn't it? Center of mass moved... Well, no, it should have moved forward, shouldn't it? Unless the tail fins are heavier than the nose, than the probe core, which is possible. Anyway, we're going to do an impression of a helicopter all the way to the ground. We might actually survive this landing at this rate. Okay, we're going to plop down right here. Hey! We survived, or the flippin' probe core did at least. What is that? That's a skid. Well, the probe core survived, so we can recover that for the data that's still in it. That gets us 11 more science from that flight. So what went wrong with the design there? Once we ran out of fuel, that feels like it should still be flying, you know? I don't know what went wrong with the design. Let's try slipping these back a little more. You know, actually, maybe we even doing them a little bit more steeply like that. These things can slip back a little too. We'll make this just a little more dart-like overall. Let's give this another try. I guess we'll do this thing again, where we set it on top of something just so I can Balance? We could do that, you know. What I'm missing is an adapter to go from this 1.25 meter size down to the 0.6. Experiments on. SAS on. Launch. Go ahead and do some time warping. Okay, we're going to reach an apoapsis of 40 kilometers. TM report complete. Still got a lot of hard drive space available, that's good. I'm going to turn off SAS. And you know how I confidently said before that it would aerodynamically orient itself? Should I say that confidently again? I'm going to turn on SAS. I'm not going to chance it. I want to fly it down. Okay, time warp down. Once we start getting some good aero forces here, still got plenty of electric charge. I'll start pulling us out of this dive. So this little peninsula that the Space Center is on, right about this line right here, this is all shores biome. Out here is grasslands biome. I don't want to land in shores, I want to land in grasslands, because that's a biome that I haven't got science from yet. And yes, it flies well now, so far. It doesn't, I don't know what happened last time. If the tiny tweaks I made did make that much of a difference, or if I just got some sort of unluckiness last time. Okay, so also, I don't know, are these trees collidable? Do I need to worry about running into a tree on this landing? Whether they are or not, I'd like to pretend we can't run through trees, so let's try to aim for a nice open space to land. This looks perfect right in here. Of course, we're going to drift a little farther out, because I don't want to land quite yet. It'd be cool if I could stay in the air for another minute 30, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, it looks like right around in here is going to be our touchdown area. Still not quite so sure about how these skids are going to do, so I'm going to try to get us touching down as slowly as possible. I'd love to be going like 30 meters per second when we touch. Ooh, that's quite slow, and we're still flying. That's a little impressive, actually. Nice, gentle landing. Skids are working perfectly. Brakes. I should have put a solar panel on this now that I'm thinking about it. These are not the most effective brakes in the world. I guess skids probably don't have brakes, do they? I'm just sort of sliding along. Can't help but notice that it's like literally not losing any speed at all. I put this parking brake mod on, so once we stop I should be able to anchor us. Maybe I shouldn't use that, it's kind of cheaty. Since I clearly don't have wheels, I don't have brakes. I should just try to find an angle on the slope here that makes me stop. There we go. How much EC do we still have? We've got enough. Let's just sit here for a while and let some of the experiments run. So we'll time warp while that happens until either we run out of charge or the experiment's complete. Out of charge. Recover vessel. That gets us up to 33 science. Lovely. I'll save my game here. Take another look at this. So, can we make orbit at this point? don't know the answer to that. With 33 more science, we can unlock one more of these nodes. We could take this one, but I don't think that has anything that'll help us with orbit. What I would like is to take that recoverable craft that we just made and just put a bunch of oomph on the bottom of it. So what do we have in this node? We've got swivel engine is probably what we need for this. And then this node would give us... I don't think any of these I actually need to complete this mission. Give us a pug for an upper stage. That would not be a bad thing. You know, I could use this as a stage adapter. And actually, that's a stage adapter right there. So would I rather have a stage adapter? Yes, I think that's a good idea. So we'll take that. Aerodynamics, I think some people don't appreciate how much of a difference it makes in this game. You know how we only got to 40 kilometers with this craft? I bet if this had been aerodynamically sound right here, we would have got to space. Let's get this thing out of the way for now. So we can use that as an aero adapter. Kind of a flat one. I'm not sure how good that is, but it's certainly better than nothing. Now we're going to use a few of these. We kind of alternate those. Yeah, that's kind of cool, right? We do this. What other color palette options are there for these? Black, white, gray. Let's go with this checkery thing. Okay, now if we throw a swivel on the bottom of that, does that work? That is, let's say, Kerbin sea level. That's a 1.7 TWR, and 2200 delta V plus 1000 3200. That probably works for stable orbit. It's questionable, but we can, since we have plenty of TWR, we can just add a couple more of those on there. Now our liftoff TWR is 1.5, 2400, and 1000. That should totally do the job. Let's boat tail that. Throw these on. I'll take a solar panel this time since we're actually going into space. Do something like that. Okay, how are we looking delta V now? We've got 2300, and then the upper stage, which will light and vacuum, is another 1000. That 2300 is actually going to be a little better than that because we're going to be losing air pressure as we go up, so that works. What you will notice doesn't work is 43 parts. We're only capable of launching a maximum of, save this, orbit experimental 1. Bad. VAB gives us, yes, max parts supported goes to 255. Okay, so I just realized that this isn't going to work for our gain orbit and come back down purposes because this is a solid fuel engine. We only get to use it once. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this bottom thingy here. We're going to save it. I don't really care what we call this because I'm going to delete it when we're done. Stack. We're going to save that for later. We're going to switch back to the hangar editor. And basically, we're going to take this exact design, except we're going to replace this solid fuel engine with a stack of liquid fuel tanks. Just setting aside the parts that I'm going to use. This can go away. Liquid tanks. Do these have any good color palette options? Not really. We're looking for an overall length similar to that. Take that off. We're going to slap an engine on the back of it. Yeah, I think that basically approximates what we had. So the engines, or the wings, all the stuff really, can go back on now. Where's that solar panel? There it is. We had 4 of these. Flip her over. Antenna was slipped in, something like that. We had 1 skid up here. 2 back here, sort of like that. Okay, let's switch back. Now let's bring stack back out and throw it under there. Delete that subassembly. Okay, how are we looking now? Did that just directly translate over with no worries? Sea level, TWR 1.3, slightly less than 2200, close enough. And vacuum, another 2000, it's even better now. TWR is less than 1, but that's okay for an upper stage. So let's save this. And let's not forget orbit Kerbin. Establish stable orbit. Okay. Okay. I think we're ready now. Let's face east, because if we're going for orbit, we want to launch towards the east. And let's head out to the pad. Experiments on. SAS on, which is this button. I'm just using my keyboard shortcut to turn it on when I say it. Throttle up, because now we have a liquid fuel engine, we can actually throttle. And launch. So we want to do... Oh, that's pretty over there. Sunset to the west. We want to do a gentle gravity turn towards the east. The reason we're launching to the east is because if you're going to orbit, then Kerbin's rotational velocity adds to your velocity and makes it a couple hundred meters per second easier to get to orbit. You can see once we passed 80 meters per second is when I tend to like turning towards about the 75-degree elevation marker to start my gravity turn. For the rest of this launch, I'm going to keep an eye on the thrust-to-weight ratio over here and throttle down to keep it below 2.0. Once we pass 4 kilometers, I'm going to start pulling my nose down a little bit more. Keep watching this guy over here, keep it below 2. My goal here is by about 12 to 15 kilometers, I want to have my nose at the 45-degree marker. Throttle down some more. This is kind of wonky feeling though. This thing isn't the best control. It's probably... Is that a giant mountain? I don't know. Anyway, it's probably because I have a lot of aerodynamic pressure up front with these wings way up front. And I'm having to be really gentle with it to avoid it wanting to flip out. Because of that, I haven't quite met my goal of wanting to get 45 by 15 kilometers. So this is a bit less steep of a launch than I would like. But we have plenty of spare Delta V in this craft, so it should be fine. Dang, you know, I wish I could have taken that cross the radiation belt contract too, because we could probably do that with this craft. Is it too late? I don't know. First I'll get into stable orbit, and then we'll see if we can go get that. Now that we're up in the higher altitude and the aerodynamic, the atmospheric pressure is lower, it's a little easier to control. We're soon going to run out of fuel on this stage and switch to the top stage. Apoapsis is just passing 70. I'm going to take it to like 80. You know, we'll just take it to wherever 80. I was about to say wherever we happen to be when we run out of fuel. So let's dump the bottom stage. And we're just going to let her coast on up to about 80. Let's do a little time warp here. We are now in space. Okay, let's point towards the horizon and light that upper stage engine. We want to build lateral velocity now. Basically, we need to take this from negative into positives and up to above 70. Above 70 would be the minimal, 80 would work. This re-entry marker, I don't know if that's stock or if that's part of the one of the mods that I have. But either way, I like to watch this, and I want to take an attitude up here so that sort of holds steady instead of decreasing or increasing. It is more efficient to be burning directly at the horizon here. The only reason I was pitching up at all is to prevent us from re-entering, but that is no longer going to be an issue because now we're building speed way faster. So we're going to take periapsis up to above. Let's stop here because that hasn't quite worked out as I wanted. I want to aim radial out because I just want to sort of swap these two a little bit. We're going to trade apoapsis for periapsis. There we go. We are in a stable orbit. Since I only have solar panels facing in one direction, I want to orient them where they can see the sun. Of course, obviously they can't see the sun now because we're on the night side of Kerbin, but I want them to be able to see it by the time we drift out the other side. So that if we run out of electric charge before then, we will automatically reestablish charge. Contract complete. Orbit Kerbin. World's first. And then that second orbit contract requires us to land. So that was a little more complicated. They weren't quite the same contract. But we will have to land this thing safely. Before we do that, I'm going to go back to the Space Center for a moment. Across the radiation belt. This doesn't have to be a new launched craft, does it? It doesn't say anything about that, so let's take it. And now let's get back into our mission. I'm just going to time warp until we're in the sun on this side. Let's keep an eye on the electric charge. Oh, we got plenty. We didn't have to worry about running out before we got back into the sun. Okay, so from here, what I want to do... Looks like we finished all our science. That's good. Let's point the nose prograde. Can I see the radiation belts in this screen? Yes, I can. That's awesome. So we've got 900 delta V. That's quite a bit, actually. I think that's enough to get to the moon or Minmus just for a flyby. But all we need to do is get out here, across the radiation belt. So let's prograde burn until we pull that off. There we go. Let's orient the craft so that the solar panels are facing the sun again. Take the exposure up to 100% or 98, 99 is close enough. And now let's time warp around to cross the radiation belt. Contract complete. We're going to come back to that same point, which is now the periapsis. Oh, I don't see countdowns on here because I haven't upgraded something. It's either the tracking station or the mission control, I'm not sure. But we want to come back to basically periapsis. 88, 89 on this. Okay, now let's point the nose retrograde. And let's bring that back down to low orbit. So we'll watch the apoapsis over here. Bring it down to like 90-ish, 95, be fine. Just being sure that periapsis doesn't drop below 75, say. Oh, there we go. The exact thing I didn't want to happen. Okay, let's turn prograde. Just wasn't paying close enough attention there. Let's bring that back up. Up above 70. That's good. Once again, we will orient so that the solar panels can see the sun. Now we want to plan our re-entry. I'm going to save this just as a force of habit. Sometimes this game gets quite wonky and glitchy and buggy. You know, okay, biomes. We've done science landed in the shores and in the grasslands. This is the desert. We haven't done science in the desert yet. Can I plan myself to get to the desert airfield? That's the question. Let's find out. Retrograde burn. Should pull a landing. Okay, hang on a second. I've got a mod here called trajectories. Show trajectory. Oh, I can't because I haven't upgraded my facilities yet. Never mind, forget I said that. You'll see trajectories later. Not yet. I'm going to point anti-normal. Try to bring that down a bit. Won't get much out of it because I just don't have much fuel left. All right, for the moment, let's point that solar panel back at the sun. This is a maybe aggressive reentry. I don't really know. Don't have a sense of what this thing can do as far as reentry goes. But let's get it pointing in the right direction at least. Face the prograde marker. Level out. We're going to take a slight nose up attitude. Some parts may burn up. That would not surprise me in the slightest. I could kind of cheese it if I wanted to by wiggling. Wiggling tends to help with heating in this game. Actually, what if I just did a full roll? I think what I'm going to do is just orient myself to present a lot of aero directly to the direction of motion. That should slow me down quickly. Do a little bit of wiggling and rolling. I guess you can think of it like you're trying to distribute the heat more evenly across the surface of your craft. Maybe it does make sense if you think of it that way. Okay, we're now going slow enough that overheating shouldn't be a problem. Where are we? We are not going to make desert in a million years. So, impact biome is telling me grasslands right now. This is highlands over here. Can I just like, this is probably highlands too. Yeah, I'm in highlands right now. Let's just try to land it here, as close to here as we can get. Because highlands is a new biome for us. So I'm just going to like make myself oriented so I'm just as draggy as possible to try to slow us down and get us down here. We're now over the grasslands, so somewhere in this area was the dividing line between grasslands and highlands. We should be able to glide back quite a bit in that direction. What I kind of want to see is our prograde marker to come down here. That will mean we're falling instead of whatever you would call what we're doing right now. And here it comes, prograde marker coming down. Let's time warp a little more. Alright, now let's start to pull up this way a little bit, and we'll start gliding back towards the highlands. I want to switch our altimeter to ground reference. If you don't know, this, when it shows this wavy water symbol, this is your altitude above sea level. When it shows this mountain symbol, it's your altitude above terrain. That didn't used to exist in early Kerbal Space Program when I started playing this game. What I would use for an altimeter when I was landing on the moon is I would put 3 spotlights on the bottom of my craft with their beams crossing. So you would, as you were landing, you would watch the lights come together, and that's how you would know how far you were from the surface. Let's time warp a little more. We are back in the highlands, so this is good. We're going to get a highlands landing for sure. Now all we need to do is not explode. Hopefully this thing lands as well as the version with a solid fuel booster. There's a lot of trees here. See a good tree-free zone anywhere? Kind of right below us, actually. Like right here. You could probably get that. Yeah, that's decent, because then it goes up a slope, and we can use that slope for braking. I will see if I can get there. So we're going to turn, and it's going to just kill the speed, which is good. Now, when we tested the solid fuel booster of this thing, we landed it at like 25 meters per second, which is ludicrously slow. Don't hit that tree. Don't even know if that's possible, but we're going to pretend it is. Nice and easy. I don't have a sense of how much abuse these skids will take. If we had landing gear, I would know we were good to go right now. Normal landing gear, the wheels. Okay, now the next big mystery we have is how do you stop when you're on the ground with the skids? Because they don't seem to have brakes. The reason we picked this zone is because of this hill, so let's steer a little bit towards... Oh, that's, I didn't need that anyway. Didn't need that anymore. Get rid of that one, now we're balanced. As I was saying, let's steer towards this hill and let the upslope bring us to a stop. There we go, stopped. EC, we still got some. Let's sit here and time warp and do some desert science or highland science. By the way, contract complete. World's first milestone, return to the surface from orbit. Just ran out of charge, but we do have those solar panels, so I'm just going to time warp until the sun comes up again and we'll finish that science. There we go. Recover vessel. Up to 96 science and 280,000 spaceos. Excellent. So we're going to call it an episode here. It looks like next time we might start thinking about, well, we might be able to get in the tech tree to a point where we put a Kerbal in space. It's either that or flyby of the moon with the probe. Flyby and return science. We can definitely pull that off right now. So next time we'll be looking at one of those 2 contracts. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.